All right, moving into our last one here, talking about images, and you will have some hand-on experience with this in class and in some of our other demos that I'll have you do. But let's talk about images, okay? Choosing images for the web, that's something we need to refresh on. You want to make sure to pick the correct format. You want to make sure to display your images at the right size, and you also want to make sure that you optimize your images so pages load faster. You do not need a 300 DPI image for the internet, okay? This is where your 72 DPI PNG comes in handy, or your JPEG. When you start uploading these super crazy large DPI images on websites, that actually slows down your load time. So you want to make sure that load time, you take that into account when you're developing your visuals and when you're formatting your images. So storing and organizing your images, especially even if you're creating a portfolio site on Squarespace on your home computer, make sure that you have all your images in one area. Trust me, this will make your life so much easier. If you're doing your own web development, you definitely want to have everything all in one folder. Make your life so much easier. Okay. So for example, we have our images, and then if we're working maybe with site for birds, we have finch, parrot, cardinal, right? So we know that all of our images for our site are going to be in this folder. So the image element, let's talk about the image element. It is an empty element, okay? It doesn't have a closing tag. Well, it essentially is a closing tag because we have the forward slash, but it stands alone. You don't have like IMG opening tag, closing tag. You have this one little guy here. So the image element, it's an empty element, it's just one standalone. It's a very long one standalone, you'll notice, but it's just standalone. So we talk with image, we talk with source, so SRC, and that tells you where that image is. So you will notice here, I'm pointing back, so I'm recalling on my own computer, pointing back to my images folder here particularly. Now the image source, you can pull images from the internet and link the web address directly in here as well. But this actually indicates this is pulling directly from my computer currently if I was developing this. So this comes directly from my images folder that I designated where my images are. Okay, I've got my alternate text. So again, that's really important for screen readers and accessibility. And then I have my title. Okay, so there's my image link, my image element. Rules for creating images. Save it in the correct format, please, please, please. Typically for the web, we have JPEG, GIF, or a PNG. PNG will keep your transparency. So if you're doing things like converting vectors, your logo for your website, that if you want that to be transparent, that needs to be in a PNG. A GIF, those are typically animated. That will keep your animation. And then a JPEG, if you're doing just like a good quality photo, it doesn't need to be transparent. A JPEG is fine for that. Okay. Save your image at the right size, especially if you are working. This is super important as well. If you're working with Webflow, if you're working with Squarespace, those sites are only set to be, X amount of pixels wide. So you need to make sure that you know the sizing of your site and really work with the maximum width. If your image is meant to be 600 by 800 pixels, don't import an 800 pixel by 1200 pixel image. That is super lazy, and it will cause you more time, because if your images aren't the right size, then when you upload them, they're just going to look, especially if you're using like Squarespace, Weebly, Wix, Webflow, whatever, they're not super easy to resize in those programs just on their own. So you need to make sure, so that's good image development for use on the web, is making sure everything is the right size. Measure in pixels, because on the web we're pixels, and use RGB color space. So those are your web images, okay? If you try to upload a CMYK image sometimes on a website, it'll look funky because it's not supposed to be in CMYK on a website, okay? So RGB, image resolution, 72 dpi, I promise you, it will look fine on the web. Again, you're not going to want to pull it off the internet and print it. This is why we don't drag images directly from Google, because they're most likely web images that are 72 dpi. Thinking about, again, your image formats, JPEG, ideal for images that use many different colors, your GIF and your PNG. GIF will display a static image, but we today mostly associate a GIF with those animated images. So for images with 1 to 3 colors or large areas of the same color, a PNG, so like a spot color for a logo, illustration, diagram, a PNG is perfect. The GIF supports animation, and the GIF and the PNG support transparency. All right, so summary, the image element is used to add images to a web page. We'll get more hands-on experience in that in your in-class demos and other things that you will be doing outside of class as well. You must always specify a source attribute to indicate the source of an image. And an alternate attribute describes the content of an image, important for screen readers. Save images at the size you'll be using them on the web page and in the appropriate formats, please. And photographs are best saved as JPEGs. Illustration or logos that use flat colors are better saved as a GIF or a PNG, preferably and most commonly a PNG. Okay, so again, our demo, we will do that. I'll share the source code with you. We'll do that in class. And that is using images, your image element, and working with images on the web.